Let's go over here quickly to wide receiver free agents. And I want to bring up this right here because we're seeing it in the chat. Here, of course, is Philadelphia's internal wide receiver free agents. A lot of people are saying that they're going to go ahead and cut Quez Watkins. Now, Watkins is not an unrestricted free agent. They actually have no wide receivers on the list that are unrestricted free agents besides Zach Pascal. But if they cut Quez Watkins, then they technically, or not, release, whatever you want to call it. They can save a bunch of money overall, and so wide receiver 3 has come to the forefront. I'm fine with getting rid of Quez Watkins. I'm tired of him dropping critical passes in games. That seems to be his MO, and the whole idea of him being this deep vertical threat, that's why you got him. He was going to be the speed guy, is irrelevant now because you have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and so why would I make any of my deep ball targets go to Quez when they can go to A.J. Brown? But I do think Eagle fans must temper their expectations. They're not going to go get some big name to be their number 3 wide receiver. I saw people tweeting about T. Higgins being traded from the Bengals to Philadelphia to complete the trio of great receivers. And it's like, do you want to give up number 10 overall for T. Higgins? What about number 30? How much do you going to pay T. Higgins? It's ridiculous. I'm fine with looking at free agent wide receivers, but why don't we just draft somebody in round 3 or 4 and maybe let them develop behind 2 elite receivers, and then you get them for pennies on the dollar versus going to free agency?
I'm all for that. I'm all for whenever you can save a buck, especially if you're talking about a wide receiver 3 option. If we're talking about wide receiver 1, then sure. But yeah, for wide receiver 3, I did see, I don't know if you saw this or not, but Robert Woods, that's been a rumor recently kind of trending. I don't know if I would be signing up for that. You know, he a couple years ago, that would have been intriguing, but the way he's done and performed, especially last season. Yeah. I mean, I know the Titans are a mess, and thank goodness we were able to get AJ. I mean, thank you. We'll be probably thanking them for many years to come. But the fact that he did so poorly there, it just leaves a sour taste in your mouth. Like, I don't know. And plus, I mean, what's he wanting to sign for? I've heard rumors of, hey, he wants to be, he would be willing to sign for cheap. But again, like, what does he have left in the tank? And is he going to be a culture fit? There's a lot of question marks there. So I think there's a lot of better options. You could bring someone in, like you mentioned, off the draft and save a lot of money to begin with. So I think I would lean that way.
Here are your current NFL wide receiver free agents. Woods is top of the class. He was the highest paid one last year, but Tennessee paid him $16 million to do, let's see, 53 catches, 527 yards, 2 touchdowns. Yikes.
To lose your fantasy league. That's what they paid
exactly.
him.
How about number 2? Nelson Aguilar, Sterling Shepard, DJ Chark. DJ Chark, maybe. Randall Cobb, Marvin Jones, Julio Jones, or I guess the bones of Julio Jones because he's ancient. Byron Pringle, Allen. Gosh, it's rough. Juju, although I'm sick of Juju. I've talked too much about him and the holding call. Jarvis Landry, his name was thrown around there, but he's over 30, and he had 1 touchdown catch this past year. Like, you have to realize as we are talking to Eagle fans here and looking at in terms of wide receivers, this is a pretty bleak class. So I'd rather go to the draft or, you know, just get somebody super cheap, like I don't know, let's pick a name here. Olamide Zaccheaus. I recognize that name from Atlanta. And just ride with the guys that you have. Your number 3 wide receiver is not going to be a factor in this offense because you have Dallas Goedert, who is basically a number 1 wide receiver, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. So I would not worry about it. Paris Campbell could be interesting. How much did Paris Campbell make this past year? Let's see here. Oh, where is he on this list? Oh, he made $1.1 million. Okay, so he's affordable. Not bad. All right, I'll sign up for Paris Campbell. That's fine. Good one in the chat. It's a pretty beat wide receiver class. Like, it's stacked at running back, which we can talk about in a couple of minutes. There's some good offensive linemen, a lot of good interior defensive linemen. Wide receiver is really beat.
Oh, completely. I mean, if you compare it, especially to last season, I mean, you're talking about what, Devontae Adams. You've got, I'm drawing a blank now. There's like 2 or 3 really big signings last offseason. That, you know,
you had Christian Kirk, you had Allen Robinson, you had Juju, you had, obviously, like you said, Devontae Adams was traded. Yeah, it was a better class overall.
But definitely a lot of availability there because he was either going to be signed or traded, so they just decided to trade him. So, yeah, you look at it now. I mean, I love the position the Eagles are in. I loved it before the season, before this past season, but especially when all of a sudden you look at the market and you say, oh my gosh, like, look at what our wide receiver status looks like right now. It looks even that much more golden. So I'm very much in favor of where we're at right now.
I normally only throw up super chats, but if I see something that I really like, I have to throw it up here. This is gold. The big 3 Eagle wide receivers. Remember, this is not too long ago. We had Nelson Aguilar, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, and young Quez Watkins. And also, remember, John Hightower. I remember talking about, because they drafted Watkins and Hightower in the same draft, and Hightower was first, and then they drafted Watkins, and I was like, hey, guys, I don't know. John Hightower might be pretty darn good. And then you talk about a bum. You talk about doing nothing. boy, Howie can get his fair share of criticism for some things he's done in the past, but going from the wide receiver core that you see on your screen right here to what it is right now has almost earned him a statue in Philadelphia for the rest of his life just based off of what he's changed it into. Because forever we could not figure out the wide receiver spot until one good year of Alshon Jeffrey, maybe 1.5, thanks Torrey Smith. But other than that, man, it has been absolutely beat. So credit to him for doing that. You have 2 firsts, a second, a third. That's it. Besides 2 7th-round draft picks. And yes, you can maybe get a good 7th-round draft pick, but let's be real. They normally don't pan out. So you have 4 picks truly to get some real star players. Now you get 2 starters out of 4 picks. That's fine. But Howie loves picks historically. He wants to have 10. He wants to have 12. And the way to get 12 is to trade back. And trading back won't necessarily result you in Bijan Robinson. Now, the other option is to just get someone besides Bijan Robinson, which I messed up my board here. I was trying to figure out, I got to scroll down. I mean, they have a bunch of other running backs in this draft. Blake Corum out of Michigan, really, really good. He's a day 2 guy. Then you get to Jack, isn't it Charbonnet? So you say his last name? The Chip Kelly Sr. He's fantastic. The guy from Texas A&M, Gibbs from Alabama is really, really good. Forgot about Sean Tucker from Syracuse. There are other options in this draft if you can't get Bijan Robinson, but of course Bijan is the name that we all want to talk about.
Yeah, I think so. And it'll probably depend on, obviously there's a lot to go here, but with trades and I think Tyler Wallace had mentioned, that's why he said trade with the Bills. If the Bills are getting Dalvin Cook, like there's been some mention on the comments there, where they fall, are they going to draft the running back? But I mean, if we are, like you say, take off our Eagles and try to act like we're Bills fans here. Yeah, please make sure that my running back is not also my quarterback. Like, what are you doing? Like Josh Allen already takes enough hits. You need a bona fide rusher. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm curious because yes, out of all those running backs there's no one even close to me with Bijan. I know there's a million different things that could happen there. The other name that I'll throw out, and you kind of mentioned it quickly, but Devin Achane,
the Aggie guy, right?
Yeah, from Texas A&M. I'm just going to put this out there. I feel like he's going to be an absolute stud. I think he's going to be not I don't think as close, but I think he'll be similar and he'll end up having a similar type of impact eventually in his career as a Tyreek Hill. I know that's crazy to say, but watching games in the SEC that he played, I mean, let's face it, A&M was pretty terrible last season, but the impact that he had. So that's another one that could be intriguing. The downside for him to me, just going back, he's a tiny guy. I mean, he's 5'9", 185 pounds. He could benefit in some offensive plays, but he's not your main go-to. He's not your every down back. So we'll see. But he's a name that I like if he's available, maybe. But I think whoever gets him, I think you could see him making some big plays in the NFL.
He's going to run like a 4.34, and people are going to like wet themselves. Like they're going to pee their pants at the combine, which is like a couple of days away. It's like what, the 2 weeks away or something like that?
6 days away.
It's 6 days away. Yeah. He could be that running back who has like some sort of insane measurables, and everyone's like, oh, first round grade, and then someone takes him at 28 or whatever. But I agree with that. On a cornerback perspective, cornerback. I know people we love talking skill players, but can Zach McPherson play or not? That's my whole question on corner right now, because they're not going to re-sign James Bradbury. Let's just be real. Bradbury came out and said this yesterday, 2 days ago. I want to be paid well, which he wasn't, a very good cornerback this past year, top 10 Pro Football Focus, but I want to be on a good roster. And people are like, oh my gosh, that means he wants to be in Philadelphia. And it's like, well, again, who do you want on your football team? Would you like Javon Hargrave and C.J. Gardner-Johnson, or would you like C.J. Gardner-Johnson, James Bradbury, and nobody else? No T.J. Edwards, say about Boston Scott. Like, there's only so much money to go around here. Maybe Philadelphia knows something that we don't, but I would love to know if Zach McPherson can play corner or not, because all we've seen him do is play in preseason games and play the gunner spot on punt coverage, and that's it. If Zach can play, and he was drafted to kind of be starting at this point in his career, then Philly's going to be just fine, and they won't even need a cornerback, and then we can really talk Bijan. But if he can't, they got to go get a cornerback somewhere. They have to.
Oh, they definitely do. But I think that I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. But if the impact or the limited impact to which we've seen him make so far tells you anything, that they probably don't trust him. No, I mean, he's just going to be a role player at best. So you don't hit on all of them. Maybe they try to give him a chance if they have to, but I think that Howie at the top of his list, quite honestly, is to solidify the cornerback position. So you obviously heard it with the talk of CJ Gardner-Johnson. It's going to be a franchise tag if they can't get a long-term deal done. I'm on the side of saying that a long-term deal is going to get done. I mean, when was the last time that Howie even used the franchise tag? I think it was like 2012 with Deshaun Jackson. He never uses it. So,
Right.
I mean, he may use it temporarily, but he's only going to do that so that he can get a deal done later. So with that being said, I mean, I think that, yes, on the top of his board, if I was going to guess, it's a cornerback because he doesn't trust Zach McPherson and he's got to figure out who else is going to be in that spot.
I want to look at cornerbacks here in just 1 second. First, though, guys, if you're not thumbs up the show, the way more people can see it. And go check out Josh's channel. The link's down below in the description box. The Philly Special Show, really cool show, does really good stuff. Good buddy of mine, and I'm a big fan of his show, so you guys should be too. Subscribe down below for him. I really appreciate that. Let's go over here to cornerbacks because I had a comment. Where was it? Man, the comments come in too quick. I got to remember where it was. David Lewis. If I'm Howie, he's available. Choice is Witherspoon. No cornerback is even close, in my opinion. The cornerback class is fascinating this year because there isn't one to me that screams top 5. Like there's no Jalen Ramsey in this draft. But if there is one that's close, it's definitely Devin Witherspoon. Now, the other name that gets thrown around there is Joey Porter Jr. out of Penn State. I think he's everything you would want in a star cornerback, and I think he'd be there if they traded back to 17, let's say, or if they wanted to move up to like 22, or maybe he falls to 30, who knows? I think Porter makes an absolute ton of sense for Philadelphia, but there are some good names here, and I think the cornerback class is pretty stacked. And if you're going through the idea that you're going to let Slay play the remainder of his deal and then he's done, he's on his final contract in Philadelphia, go get a rookie who can learn under Darius Slay, then take over, and then you always have one good cornerback. It does feel like Philadelphia has had kind of a revolving door of corners for a very long time. You thought you hit on Jalen Mills there for a while. You thought that Ronald Darby was going to be kind of good, and at times they've been good. But since Lito Shepherd and Sheldon Brown, and I guess Asante Samuel, they haven't had a legit, really good cornerback tandem until this year. And I just don't want to get to the point where we go back to where defensive schemes are good, pass rush is really good, but the corners are terrible. And this year they were great. And I hope that maybe cornerback can be that pick. Blessings said, just subscribe to Josh's channel. Blessings, I appreciate that. Everyone should follow Blessings Lead. Subscribe to Josh's channel. Really good stuff there. We're going to name this show something. This is going to become a Wednesday night thing. Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time. I mean, maybe there'll be a couple of times where we change the time, but this has become a normal thing. So you're going to see a lot of Josh. So be sure to go ahead and subscribe. Tyler Wallace says there are so many cornerbacks in this class. There are. I mean, there are a ton. I just don't see Howie staying put and just going, I'll take someone at 10. I'll take someone at 30. He's going to trade. I thought he was going to stay put last year. And then it was like, Jordan Davis. And it was like, oh, okay, Howie's doing what Howie does, which is why the draft is so fun because you never know what he's going to do. I don't think he stays put. I think he moves. I think he figures out who he wants and he goes and gets them because you're in a win now mode. Like you're in a go all in mode, but you also can't completely obliterate your franchise like the Rams did, right? We got compared to the Rams so much this year. We're very different from the Rams. We have draft picks. We have first-round draft picks. When the last time the Rams picked in the first round? I think I was like 5 years old. It's been forever. You cannot mortgage the future, but also go all in at the exact same time if you're the Eagles. You have to do the middle of that, which is go all in, but make sure you don't go all in to the point that next year you're completely done because we saw you can go all in this year like they did, not win a Super Bowl. And if they didn't have first-round draft picks this year, we'd be in a bunch of trouble.
Yep. Yeah. I'm all with that. I've grown tired of seeing the other teams. If I was a fan of the Rams or any of these other teams, I mean, okay, congrats. You know what? You got the Super Bowl, so I guess mission accomplished. But you know what you're in for the next 10 years plus. I mean, who knows what that's like? There's a reason why you had the head coach even thinking about belling. He knew. Sean McVay is saying, yeah, hey, we won the Super Bowl, but good luck trying to get talent to fill this team for the rest of the years to come. So I love how he does it. In my mind, I think if Howie drops back and potentially Bijan Robinson falls into his lap, sure, he'll take him. But I'm kind of with you. I think that he could drop back, look at one of these corners, especially in my mind, if he's viewing some of these corners, and I really would need to look at some of these a little bit better. I think that David Lewis had mentioned Witherspoon being a beast. I've seen a little bit of clips here. But if outside of Witherspoon, I think that you could make the argument for a couple different cornerbacks. And so if they fall further, at that point, sure, Howie's absolutely going to look, okay, how do we trade backwards? How do we get more draft picks? Because that's his MO. That's what he wants to do. And I'm all with that because like we've already mentioned, in this league, especially as it just continues to go further along, it's already a passing league. We know that, but how and why did we lose the Super Bowl? There was a running game. Sure, the Chiefs ran a little more than I expected them to, but in all honesty, the games that it ends up coming down to is the quarterback and receivers. And if we got a coverage unit, that's what we really need. So to your point of Slay, I'm all on board with that. You got to get the future shirt up. It is a deep cornerback draft. So regardless if it's in the first round, second round, third round, whatever, you've got to select at least one of them. But I would be shocked if the first pick is not a cornerback.
Trivia question of the night for everybody involved. Josh, I'll present this one to you. When was the last time the Rams had a first-round draft pick? I Googled it. What year was the Rams' last first-round draft pick? It's easier than you think. Think about it. Last big first-round draft pick, where the Rams taking? You're gonna hate yourself whenever I tell you the answer if you don't get it, because it's very obvious.
I am gonna hate myself.
Very obvious. JK says 1996. No, that is not true. That's the year I was born. It's not that long. Matthew Peters has it. Yes, it is
2016. Okay.
And who was it?
Who was that?
He was taken one pick before Carson Wentz. Jared Goff.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
of course it was.
Yeah, it was Jared Goff, right? Isn't that crazy that was
that's
7
wild.
years ago? They took Jared
7.
Goff. Yeah, it's the Carson Wentz draft. Now, the next time the Rams have a first-round draft pick, Goff. These guys have it. Good job. Tyler had it. Matthew Peters had it. EC1 Football had it. Yep. David Lewis had it as well. Let's see. The next time they have a first-round draft pick will be 2024. So next year, technically, maybe the Rams will be on the clock. How about that?
Can you imagine?
How boring would the draft be if it did not have a first-round draft pick? What would we talk about for the next 3 months if we literally didn't have a first-round draft pick? I got a really good third-rounder, guys. I feel really confident about him. Boy, I can't wait to tell you about this guy.
I mean, forget looking at all the mock drafts and, scouting reports and everything else, because at that point, you're literally just saying to yourself, well, whoever falls to us. Like, there's no planning. Sure, you're going to have your big board, but like as a fan, you're just saying, we'll get some person and hopefully they turn out and they're great, but goodness, that's forever. I didn't realize it was that long.
Time.